Hello everyone, welcome to my review of Season 3, Episode 10 of Gotham, titled Mad City Time Bomb. Before I go any further, I just want to say that there will be spoilers in this review. In this episode, we have a couple of different plot lines going on. The main plot line in the episode is Jim Gordon has to figure out who is trying to assassinate Mario, and in the secondary plot line is Bruce Wayne, Selina Kyle, and Alfred dealing with what happened in the previous episode, and also coming face to face with more information about the Court of Owls, which I'm really happy about. But back to Jim Gordon. In this episode, right away, there is a kind of hit attempt on what Jim assumes to be Don Falcone, but it is not. It is, in fact, a hit on Mario. What we learn in this episode, which I think is very interesting, is that the hit is done by the Court of Owls. So it's kind of interesting that the two main plot lines in the episode really kind of connected with one another. And as we saw towards the end of the episode, Don Falcone seems to have a history or a relationship with the Court of Owls. It's kind of like he does what they want, and they kind of stay out of his way when it comes to his business practices. But why they were specifically targeting Mario, they don't really quite reveal, so that's going to be an interesting revelation later on if they do indeed delve into that. But once again in the episode, Jim has to deal directly with something revolving around Lee Tompkins. And once again, I will say this until it actually happens or they officially say it's not going to happen. Lee Tompkins and Jim are probably going to get back together in some type of form at some point this season. Whether it is after her marriage, or maybe her marriage doesn't happen, or a divorce, or whatever, that I still believe is going to happen. Also, in this episode, we learned that Mario has a bit of an evil streak in him, a bit of an anger streak in him, and specifically in the last scene we see him in, he is very violent. So, where does this violence come from? Where is this anger coming from? There is a lot of people online believing that he is, in fact, infected by the Alice blood, which would be very interesting. We never saw him come in contact with the Alice blood at all. That could be an interesting revelation if they decide to go that route. It's not like with Captain Barnes where we saw him come in direct contact with it, so we understood kind of what was happening to him. But not so much with Mario, so that's going to be very interesting to see where that goes. In typical Gotham fashion, I think this revelation is going to come about very soon, because with this season, they are wasting no time when it comes to advancing plots. They are not really kind of developing them very slowly, so sooner rather than later, that's going to be a major part of a plot. And now kind of to the secondary plot line. In the previous episode, Bruce came in possession of a key, and in this episode we see that there is an owl kind of insignia or design on the key, so once again that should trigger to us that this key is somehow connected to the Court of Owls, and it is indeed. And the group that was kind of attacking them last episode are not in fact the Court of Owls like I thought. They are a group that is fighting against the Court of Owls, which I thought was very interesting. Also, it's kind of very interesting in this episode that they're kind of dealt with rather quickly and kind of dispatched, and I believe that was indeed the Court of Owls, as well as a Talon, who was kind of like the fighting force of the Court of Owls, for those of you who do not know who the Talons are. This key grants access to some type of weapon or something that could in fact hurt the Court of Owls. I'm assuming we are going to follow up on that later on. It's also interesting how Bruce Wayne has kind of changed his opinion or his approach to the Court of Owls. Before, he had this deal in place where he will let the Court of Owls kind of do their thing, and he and the people that he cared about would not be harmed. But since now he is kind of taking a more active role in, I guess, trying to attack the Court of Owls, I think it's just a matter of time before they figure that out and respond accordingly. Because the Court of Owls, I think as we're seeing in this season, and we are going to see in this season, they have their hands and eyes and ears come everywhere. They know everything that is going on within Gotham. And I forgot to mention early on, there is indeed a third plot line in this episode, and that is Edward Nygma enacting his revenge on Butch. He believes that he killed Isabella. He captures Butch and Tabitha, and he is torturing them pretty much throughout this entire episode. He is psychologically torturing them as well as physically torturing them, and Barbara is trying to track them down. And it is only in the very last moments of this torture fest that Edward Nygma realizes that Butch, in fact, did not kill Isabella, didn't even know who Isabella was, so now he has to kind of figure out who did it. The one problem I guess I kind of have is that my initial kind of hypotheses or guesses was that Butch had some type of connection with Isabella, or at least Isabella had more to do with her character than meets the eye, and as the episodes are going on, that seems less and less likely unless there is a large revelation coming up. But unfortunately, I think she was kind of just a plot device, at least so far. Hopefully, I'm still holding on to one last sliver of hope that she was more than what she was. I also like how Barbara was right away able to figure out that the Penguin has romantic feelings for Edward Nygma. It is very interesting how the female characters in the show are able to pick up on this right away while the male characters are completely oblivious to it. But I think it's only going to be a matter of time before Edward Nygma figures out that Penguin was indeed involved. He is kind of slowly getting towards there. I guess it's kind of being a process of elimination so far. Now it's not Butch or Tabitha or Barbara. He's probably going to set his sights on Penguin very, very soon. Overall, I have to say, I really did enjoy this episode. The show is what it is. It does have its problems. It does have its kind of messiness when it comes to stories and kind of plot lines and things of that nature, but I do rather enjoy it, and I'm going to continue watching it for however long it's on. I'm not quite sure if it's going to last past this season because the ratings aren't exactly great, but I do enjoy the show. But with all that being said, this has been my review of Season 3, Episode 10 of Gotham, titled Mad City Time Bomb. If you like this video, please check out my other episode reviews for the other comic book related television series.